Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host Sana Maqbool with you at PTV World. In today's show, we're going to be taking a look at two important stories. The first is going to be in reference to a very important meeting that was held under the chairmanship of the Chief of Army Staff. And this is, of course, the 83rd Formation Commanders Conference that took place earlier today. And this is, of course, important in terms of the overall areas of national security that were briefed upon and, of course, deliberated upon. And many, of course, important aspects and decisions came out of this particular conference with a focus on the issue of digital terrorism as well, something of course that has been reiterated that we'll have no tolerance for, and of course that it will not be allowed, and this is something that is going to be dealt with strictly, particularly when we talk about how foreign elements are also involved within this terrorism, and of course in terms of making Pakistan a despondent state and the nation of course putting them on a downward spiral. And so we're going to try and understand what this means, particularly in the aspects of different political parties in the country, the impact that it has on fake news, and how exactly will this be curtailed and controlled. Of course, when we talk about digital media or social media or any sort of digital presence, it involves a lot of aspects. And then, of course, when we talk about digital terrorism, it will also involve the same, particularly when we talk about cybersecurity, the finances behind it, and what actually will constitute as digital terrorism. So we're going to be taking a look at that with a focus on today's conference, but also trying to understand the larger national security issues, including, of course, what happened last year within this month on the 9th of May, and the kind of action that was taken with regards to the ruckus activities that were created and the perpetrators of that violence, and what is going to be a year onward from that point, the way forward for those perpetrators, and the kind of action that is required to making sure that whoever was responsible is brought to task. So we're going to be taking a look at all of that in light of course, the other security concerns that Pakistan also has. In our next segment, we're going to be taking a look at what is going on in Palestine, particularly, of course, with the focus on Gaza and Rafah. And this is, of course, something, again, that we've seen post the ICJ order of a halt of immediate halt of fighting in Rafah, after which we saw the bombings that took place from the Israeli forces. And of course, the genocide continues, unfortunately, on places earlier declared as safe zones as well. And we've seen that a number of encampments were targeted in which displaced people were taking refuge, women and children were targeted. And we've seen images and horrifying stories coming in from those camps, which of course point towards more evidence of the kind of actions and crimes that are taking place by the Israeli forces and the need for an end to this genocide. But however, we have of course seen that this is something that has happened despite the ICJ ruling, despite international condemnation, and so many other aspects, of course, that have been brought forward in so many months into this genocide as well. And so one questions what exactly will be anything of value to stop this from continuing, and what action do the states actually plan to take in light of this horror. So we're going to be focusing on the developments coming in from Rafah in particular, and of course in Gaza, and see what is going to be the future for the people who continue to suffer. For this and more, as always, in the studios, I've been joined by senior analyst Farrukh Pitafi and Faisal. And for our first segment, we've also been joined by Brigadier Retired Mr. Rashid Wali Janjua, who's Director IPRI as well. Thank you very much, Janjua Sahab, for joining us and being a part of the discussion. And I'll start with you in terms of what we've seen, of course, particularly the way that the issues of security and the issues of terrorism have been dealt with an iron hand, and we've been very clear since a while now of having no tolerance towards any groups or any elements that are responsible or that are aimed towards harming the country's interests. And while that may be so, I want to understand, particularly in light of today's conference, when we talk about the issue of digital terrorism, what exactly do you understand by it, and what exactly do you think will be the measures to counter it and the nuances that are involved?
You know, it is very simple. The digital terrorism is the use of social media platforms to sow the seeds of internal dissension and to resort to character assassination and to feed lies, to mislead people, and to polarize the society. So this all comes within the remit of digital terrorism. because what is the definition of terrorism? It is propaganda by deed. It's a resort to, it's a recourse to violence, and the violent act is in pursuit of a political objective. Now it is the use of social media, because this these platforms are being used as very potent weapons to harm the intended target, and the political battles are not fought on the political forums, but those have been taken to the social media platforms, where the alternative truth is constructed, an alternative reality is created, truth is debunked, lies are peddled, and characters are assassinated with a view to target a person. And what Churchill probably echoed, that a lie would go the halfway around the world, while the truth is just preparing to buckle up the laces. So the use of this social media platform to defame people, whether those are individuals or the institutions, this is the digital terrorism. Because if you make use of a potent platform, that creates a snowball effect that allows everybody to attack everybody, and the fact check strictures are not there, then such a groundswell of hatred takes place that people can resort to the acts of violence. Their minds can be polluted and poisoned, and those people who are impressionable, those who do not have full grasp of the facts, those can get so emotionally charged that they might harm somebody. They might congregate, and they might resort to mob violence. The acts of mob lynching, like those, are happening in India. So there was a study which pointed out that a great deal has to do with the social media instigation. So this incitement and instigation on the social media platforms is leading to the acts of violence. And in India, no less than their Prime Minister Modi, each time he opens up his mouth in an electoral rally, a thick miasma of hatred whooshes through his lips, and he attacks Muslims as snatchers of the Mangal Sutras of Hindus, and those who are with more children might swamp India. So that is the kind of hate peddling that takes place on social media. And the example in our own country is use of social media by a particular political party that has weaponized and dominated this medium. And unfortunately, the young, impressionable population gets swayed away. It can get too charged up, and regardless of the consequences, they might resort to certain acts that might harm themselves also. So this is my definition of digital terrorism.
Absolutely. But Janjua Sahab, what you have discussed, I want to explore a bit further, particularly when we talk about defining digital terrorism or social media terrorism. And I understand what you're saying in terms of how it's viewed or can be interpreted or understood. But especially when it comes to putting ahead consequences to certain actions, aligning cause and effect, and pointing out individuals or organizations responsible for a certain action that may or may not have been a result of anything said or done on social media. I want to understand that while we talk about this very important issue, how are we going to make sure that whatever action is being taken or whoever is being penalized has in fact committed digital terrorism, has actually resulted into something which is harmful for the society, and how do we differentiate that from anybody coming up or exercising their right to free speech or criticizing any particular organization or or party. And so I want your perspective on that also. Secondly, I want to understand, while you say, of course, that the young or the emotionally charged may be swayed by any certain sentiment that is put forward, how also will you take a look at putting accountability then on whoever said something on social media that may or may not have caused a certain action? Will that accountability be on the person or the organization who's actually said something on social media as a result of which something harmful happened, or will that accountability be on the mob, for example, that may have lynched somebody? So I want your take on how do we assign responsibility in such matters.
You see, assigning of responsibility is difficult because of the anonymity and because of the impunity that social media regulations confer on the social media users. That is why there's a cacophony of protests whenever state tries to regulate the use of social media. This unbridled use of social media is leading to problems even in advanced industrialized countries like United States. Uh, the famous scholar Jonathan Haidt, he has written several books which explain that what harm can come to society if there is no check on the use of social media, if there are no boundaries and no guardrails. And he has in fact proven through his research that the Gen Z in United States is getting fragilized. He has coined this term from the word fragile, fragilization, which means this generation is not resilient enough to, take care of their uh, emotional responses. And anybody can sway such fragile generation into doing things which might cause harm to themselves and society. So if that is the condition in those societies, what to talk of our country, where the education level is low, where the level of awareness is pretty abysmal, and where there is so much, superstition. There's so much religious sectarianism. So this is a very dangerous platform, and if we allow this unbridled use, there are elements like TTP who are using social media very effectively for terrorist recruitment. So that is also an example of digital terrorism. Your specific query about the accountability, yes, those who promote hatred, those who peddle lies, and on whose instigation the masses get charged and do the acts of violence, they are guilty, and they have the retribution has to be directed at them, because it's very difficult to point the finger, but the official handles which have been given recognition by the political parties themselves. If some political party accepts that this is the official handle, and a half truth or an outright lie or some seditious material has been forwarded or proliferated from that, the responsibility lies with the highest leadership of that political party. So this is something very simple. So saying that hiding behind the anonymity and making excuses that this was a false proliferated message, fake message, this should not give impunity to someone who claims that this is the official handle and this is the official message. Narrative is being created which is anti-state, which is anti-institutions, and we know we are in the middle of a very dangerous hybrid war, and we a lot of money is being spent by forces inimical to Pakistan on sowing the seeds of dissension, on creating certain hateful narratives, on polarizing the society and promoting conflict, and billions of rupees are being spent. So this is a very combustible mix, and in these environments, we need to hold the political parties, even institutions and certain non-state actors who want recognition and mainstreaming. And if they use this social media in this manner, in which there's a clear evidence that it is inimical to national security, I think those they should be given the maximum retribution. And the PACA Act, which is now being amended, and there are certain provisions that are being added to ensure that nobody gets away with the kind of impunity that they used to get away in the past. The state has to put its foot down somewhere, and state also has to look into those narratives that why are they gaining traction amongst the young population? Where is it that the counter narrative is missing? Why our counter narrative is not that strong? And why those lies are gaining traction? And maybe there is something that we need to do on ground as well. Maybe there are certain punishments that need to be meted out on ground to ensure that those punishments act as a deterrent for those who use this social media for their ulterior motives.
Absolutely, and I'll explore this in further detail, and I'll come back to you and talk to you specifically about the political party that you mentioned as well. But I want to also say for the record that I'm not just talking about that particular party at the moment and trying to understand a general sense of what it means when we talk about digital terrorism. And Farrukh, I want your take on the issues of accountability that I mentioned earlier as well. And we all understand mob mentalities and diffusion of responsibility, but perhaps social media is another area where that is also into effect. So please comment on that. But add to that two more things that Janjua Saab also mentioned. One, fragilization, which is a new concept for me that I've learned just now, but I want to understand whether this is a fair way of describing the younger generation, because I have a lot of confidence in our youth, and I want to know whether largely we can actually talk about them in this manner, because so many of them are actually standing up for issues, which is very, very amazing to see. And secondly, with reference to correlating lack of education with the kind of behavior we see on social media, and whether this is something very simple, simply drawn, but is that really what happens in reality?
Thank you, Sana. You have actually cut out my work for me. I actually wanted to cover, Brigadier Saab has covered a lot of ground, but I wanted to try to actually give structure to this discussion, because word terrorism itself is something that hasn't been that easy to define for quite some time. UN has been struggling to define the term terrorism, especially given that the two of the sponsors, India and Israel, of that bill actually wanted it to be correlated or confused with Islam, right? But what we have seen even before the recent political upheavals in the country, that Pakistan has been fighting terrorism for quite some time. So we have seen weaponization of information, and particularly disinformation or images that can frighten people, right? This is the whole idea of terrorism, anything, any act that can terrorize a bunch of people, right? And we have seen that in the past, particularly in the gray zone of war and terror, when everything was kosher on social media, we saw the videos of beheadings being actually distributed as well, and terrorism, acts of terrorism, confessions, and umpteen other things. But then we started seeing this talk of hybrid warfare, where certain countries might actually weaponize internet or social media to attack others. But here you have to appreciate one nuance as well, because Brigadier Saab particularly spoke about the West. Usually radicalization in the West that is happening is not primarily happening because of the well-known social media companies like Twitter, YouTube, or for that matter even Facebook. what exactly is being used. There are alternative platforms like 4chan is a message board that is repeatedly seen as the brewing place of all the radicalism in the West. 4chan was banned or somehow it was taken over, then it was called 8chan and now it is called 8kun. So terrorists, wherever a white nationalist terrorist attack, they upload their testimonies or their statements or manifestos on that website. In the West, if you want to understand what is going on in the West, perhaps Talia Levin's Culture Warlords is a brilliant book that actually helps you understand what is going on. Now, the problem with our social media and the problem with the way we have handled it, or Brigadier Sahab once again spoke about India, where suddenly social media has taken larger than life size or capacity. That would be because the regular institutions where you get information, Sana, is discredited. All the Indian media channels are now considered Godi media. So because of that, people actually use social media, particularly YouTube, to get their message across. The biggest problem there is, then there is no check and balance, right? Editorial oversight is also very important. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, what we have seen, and I am going to give you two examples, right, which are astounding, mind-boggling. May 9th, for that matter, was one example where we saw, remember that social media can help you in collecting and redistributing any kind of information, may it be information, misinformation or disinformation. So what happened on those days was that all these social media outlets were used to keep on spreading message of going out and attacking. And this is what repeatedly happened, that all those messages reached far across, and then people were there, and then we saw buildings being burned down as well. And that was then being used because on 10th of May in America, in India, Karnataka elections were taking place the next day. And whatever images were going on in Pakistan, they were being aired on Indian media and being shown as some kind of, promotional tactic that, look, Pakistan is going to the dogs and we are responsible, right? With that kind of a state of affairs, things can, and I can understand why there is the mention of digital terrorism. Another example that came out a few years ago was during Muharram, when because of certain unfortunate events, there was an outage of internet. And what happened then? People started uploading fake images on Facebook saying that there is a kind of sectarian war that is going on in Pindi. There wasn't anything of the sort at all. The problem then is, eventually it was sorted out, but these things do happen. So we have to be careful how to actually see information.
Right.
My concern is that when we are talking about regulation, you can regulate the hell out of social media. You can shut down the internet. Do you think that even then information is going to go away? For example, General Pervez Musharraf was in power. He went to the US, had a brief medical checkup. In those days, amazingly, there was an outage throughout the country for few hours. And at that time, because nothing else was working, media was not available, all of a sudden there was string of SMS, text messages, saying that there has been a coup in Pakistan and everything is upside down. One had to actually go to those places which were claimed that somebody else has actually taken over and just ascertain what is going on. Disinformation will always, or misinformation will spread. What is the best way to counter that? Build the capacity in the people to appreciate the nuances. And this is where I understand that you have to move on, but I very quickly wanted to address two more things which you asked. One, are the younger ones fragile? I mean, everybody, I've seen this with boomers. They have actually been dissing every generation. My generation, Generation X, was too, immature. Then Generation Y came, and they were very bad with finances. And when it came to the Generation Z, they became the Tide Pod generation because they were fools, right? So this is something that keeps on going. My humble submission is information and education are not totally the same thing. There are people who are not very educated, but they have a rational mind, and I can make you meet them. And you will be astounded by the ability to parse information and tell right from wrong.
Right.
So better thing would be to build a capacity and build trust between the state and the people. If that doesn't happen, of course, anybody can actually come and treat you like fair game.
That's true. And Faisal, I want your perspective on this as well, because Janjua Sahab, of course, emphasized on the need for punishment and consequences. And I understand, of course, particularly when we talk about issues such as May 9th, issues preceding May 9th, and of course, the kind of digital terrorism that he referred to by a certain political party that may involve punishments and consequences. So the need to move ahead with certain ways of dealing with things after they have happened. And then, of course, in terms of what Farrukh is saying, in terms of capacity building, or in terms of prevention of such incidents, or perhaps making the people more aware in terms of how they consume social media as well. What sort of measures do you think need to be taken on both ends? Because we, of course, still are moving ahead with the consequences of May 9th, and we want to also understand then that how we do not want to be in such a situation again, and how we need to have certain limitations on the way that political leaders, parties, individuals, members of the society need to act and behave.
Yes, and obviously when we talk about, earlier it's been discussed that the, fresh generation, how, of course, how fragile they are. To me, they are not fragile at all, because the kind of tactics and the kind of, ways they can probe today's social media, that is remarkable. And there are certain things even I'm not aware of, that, there are certain parameters which are being applied by the younger ones, and they know better than us. And to me, I think they are well equipped, and they are not fragile at all when it comes to assessing the social media or whatever's going on social media. Problem here is, Sana, when we talk about freedom of speech, freedom of using social media, freedom of expression, freedom of press, I mean, these are blessings for any society, be it Western society or be it the Eastern society. But incitement to violence, incitement to hatred, that is where the problem starts. I mean, Farrukh rightly pointed out a few of the examples of 9th May. I mean, I'm privy to it, that there were addresses of certain houses being shared online. There were, pictures of the family members, they were being shared online, on social media. This comes under incitement to violence. This comes under incitement to hatred.
And targeting and doxing as well.
Yeah. And now the problem is, Sana, that freedom of speech or freedom of expression is allowed, but nobody should be allowed to incite violence in any society. I mean, it should never be allowed in Pakistan. And yes, I agree with the Brigadier Janjua when he says that there should be, of course, punishments for that. But here is the distinction which we need to make. Of course, on social media nowadays, how it works. It works that one of the post is posted by an individual under whatever the circumstances, be it deception or fake news, or somebody trying to, of course, penetrate some sort of deceiving material out there. But he has certain number of followers. He has certain number of people who believe that he is the right person to be sharing his content. So there are people who retweet it. And I know that even the retweet, anyone who retweets something is considered as being, accomplice to that sort of, propaganda, or that act which is being considered as a criminal act. But to me, I believe the kind of mechanism which under which the different social media platforms are working, the person who actually puts that post, he should be responsible, not the ones who are constantly retweeting. And I'm pretty much sure that majority of them, they don't even read through the whole material and they start retweeting only for the sake of a retweet. And when it comes to, of course, their trust on that certain account, they believe that whatever is going on that account, it's being fair. It's like
But Faisal,
yeah.
what do you do when the person who is tweeting it or posting it is sitting abroad, out of your jurisdiction?
Yeah, we can't do anything. Obviously, if somebody is sitting in a jurisdiction where, of course,
Our laws don't apply.
our laws won't apply. But I can give you one example. Last year, I was, I actually went through. I was in a meeting with one of the diplomats from Britain, and I highlighted the same thing because there are lots of people who are sitting in Britain and they are doing it from there. And then he said to me, he said that all of the individuals which are being, of course, highlighted from your government, from your state, what we are doing is we are, of course, talking to them. We don't allow incitement to violence, but yes, they have a right to their freedom of expression, right to their freedom of, freedom of saying anything, as long as it is not reaching to incitement to violence. And this is what I was told at that time. Here, I wanted to, mention one example. I mean, very recently we saw there was, a video shared by Imran Khan's account, which is, of course, well-known account and being followed by millions of people on, social medium X. And that video, of course, I know on Monday we did a show on it, and you could tell how disturbed I was after watching that video. And I actually condemned that video, and I still believe the person in question, his account, of course, he's in jail and he wouldn't be using that account. Whoever is using that account is, of course, using it with a purpose.
Right.
And that must be probed, and that must be probed by the highest of the authorities, because the content that was being shared by that personality's X handle, to me it feels like whoever shared it, he's sort of accomplice to the propaganda which is being promoted in Pakistan. And these are the certain lines that were, of course, condemned in past as well. And the very person whose account was being used, Imran Khan, he himself condemned all of these lines in past. How is it possible that his X account is being used to, of course, propagate within our society? So that's what I want. It must be probed.
Absolutely.
The person who's sitting here or wherever he's sitting, he must be condemned and he should be taken to task.
Absolutely, but Faisal, we have, of course, all of us learned that many things are possible, in fact, and have happened, unfortunately, within this world. Janjua Sahab, I want your perspective also in terms of, while we, of course, talked about the content of what it is that constitutes digital terrorism or how it is consumed, I also want to understand then how we are going to navigate through going ahead with these social media platforms themselves as well, and how the regulation on that front is important, especially when we talk about foreign elements, and how exactly will that balance be drawn where it's not misconstrued as control or unnecessary monitoring over social media platforms for the general public, but in terms of being able to filter out certain content, certain individuals who are harming the society, and especially who are acting beyond the borders of the country. What exactly will be the ways in which we can regulate that with social media platforms? Because, of course, we've seen examples even in India, which unfairly so, of course, have had a lot of ways, in a lot of ways, blocked content or blocked accounts or individuals that they deemed inappropriate for their society. And however, that may be a different sort of debate around freedom of speech. I want to understand how then can our own laws or our own sort of ideas about what we deem harmful for the society can then be regulated through these platforms as well.
Yeah, I'll speak about three things. First is the ontology of this social media. Second, the social media reality of Pakistan, country like Pakistan. And before I do so, I'll just mention that remember, we are operating in an environment in which billions of rupees are being spent by forces inimical to Pakistan's safety and national security. And those are funneling all those amounts into social media, into terrorist networks, into extremist seminaries, and the hotspots of extremism and disaffection. This all is happening, and maybe a political entity or a group or an association is not a witting accomplice, but because of their carelessness and because of their recklessness, these entities might become a victim of the a kind of hybrid warfare and subversion efforts that are being foisted upon us from across the frontiers. And this is a very, very dangerous phenomenon that we all need to be cognizant of. Now, coming over to the ontology, Faisal was mentioning about fragile generation. No, it's not on in that narrow sense. There are three books written by Jonathan Haidt. There's a discourse by Yuval Noah Hariri. And incidentally, that reminds me one of his quotes that we are trying to create artificial intelligence without beating the natural stupidity. You see, social media world is all about understanding and removing the clutter. Unless you remove the clutter, in the words of Hariri, the future strength of knowledge would be with those, not with the information, but those with the ability to remove the information. So unless we enable our generations to declutter and to be discerning, I think we are going to grow up in darkness forever. What Jonathan Haidt pointed at by way of fragilization was not in that narrow sense that they become fragile. No, what he meant was that social media usage is creating a kind it's hardwiring the brains of new generation and new political parties, and it is emerging as a threat to democracy in United States itself. The Achilles heel to democracy in USA, as per these analysts who are debating these issues in United States, is polarization and factionalism. Social media use and its unbridled, unchecked use creates a propensity for factionalism, a propensity for living in echo chambers, and it takes away a very important, quality that human beings possessed, and the democratic societies survived because of that quality, and that was the quality of debate and association. So this social media free for all is taking away that quality of association and debate, and is creating that fragilization that nobody can think straight, and they can only think in black and white, not in gray terms. And there's another term that I'll introduce, that is the cancel culture. They say that social media has introduced the cancel culture that bitterly oppose anything that is contrary to your worldview,
Yeah.
fight and enter into acrimony and create an environment where nothing constructive is possible. So that is the ontology and that is the landscape. And now coming over to the reality. I've been to most of the world, which includes the developing countries and the industrialized West, and also the East, like Russia and China. Can you go and operate Twitter in Russia today? You can't. Can you go and operate WhatsApp in China? You cannot. They have created their own platform, and that is called WeChat. Can you operate WhatsApp from UAE, a bastion of modernity and commerce and whatnot? The point that I'm trying to drive home is that we need to create certain guardrails and in accordance with our own environment, in accordance with our own culture. And that doesn't mean that we wish to do away with all vestiges of social media, but we just want to put some guardrails. Without
Absolutely,
these
I understand.
strictures and guardrails, and nothing will go right for you here, and there will be a complete chaos. And what I propose and what the world is proposing nowadays is that there should be some you know, redesigning of the architecture of the social media platforms, wherein this virality and this factionalism could be minimized. And
Right.
especially for the younger generation, there should be an entry age limit, there should be some parental checks. And for those who promote acts of violence and their identity is, you know, is clearly established, those should be liable to be prosecuted, and we need to modify our criminal justice system. Our archaic rules and procedures in judiciary also hamstring our ability to act against those who are stoking the fires of polarization and unrest on social media. And remember, if we don't
Right.
douse these fires, we are in for a big trouble.
Absolutely, and those are valid points. Thank you very much, Janjua, for joining us and being a part of this discussion and sharing your insights with us. Farrukh, you wanted to add something before we continue?
Right. I just wanted to actually point out that, every generation is skeptical of new technology. And this is what has happened in my childhood as well. Our generation was practically raised by television. Now we see that the younger ones are being overloaded by information, with information, and because of that we think that they might be prone to a different kind of reaction. But the humble submission is that just meet a young person in this country. Okay, can't meet anybody else, I will bring my 17-year-old and you can have a conversation and you will be astounded by the kind of
Well, that's
thought
not fair. Your
capacity.
daughters are very smart.
Everybody's daughters are and sons are
just
smart,
joking.
right?
Yes.
But my humble submission once again is that we keep on talking about merely controls, and controls are good. I totally agree. But there is something else that might be there that you are not looking at. For example, there's this bloke who sits in London and tries to imply that there's division within armies, right? With due respect, who gave him that mic? It was my state. When you promote such people, unstable people, and then they come back to haunt you,
Right.
then you and we were the ones who were saying don't do it, and now you're telling us, okay, because that person turned on us, now we are going to control you.
Right.
I mean, that is not an answer.
Right, absolutely. We're also going to quickly take a look at what is going on in Palestine before we end the show. And of course, since the bombing in Gaza, we have seen so many more lives being lost and, of course, the camps being targeted. And while this genocide continues, Faisal, of course, this is in light of the ICJ ruling. This is in light of so many international protests and violations and actual footage coming out from Gaza and Rafah as well. But of course, again, points towards the fact that despite all of that, there is a certain impunity that exists, and perhaps whatever actions are being taken or whatever solutions we need to move towards are beyond international rulings or any sort of laws that seemingly the world is governed by. So I want your take in terms of how we see that nowhere is safe, that no law actually holds value. What will then be the future, or what will be then the end to this genocide and the end of the suffering, and what will that take, because we've already lost so much?
Yes, and obviously when we talk about this, Gaza crisis right now and the kind of brutalities which are being committed by Israel as a state, Zionist state, they are constantly doing it, and they are not stopping even after the ICC, judgment as well,
ICJ.
and ICJ judgment as well. And nothing is stopping Israel. To me, the only way Israel can be stopped is by influencing the countries, the powerful countries in the West that are still standing with Israel, and their support to Israel is actually giving confidence to Israel to believe that whatever they are doing is right, whereas the whole world is saying it's wrong, And if we talk about the Western countries, there are country after country that are coming up with the statements against Israel and the brutalities which are
But there are
being
many
committed
that are
by them.
coming in favor as well. And
There are
important
many.
ones.
And the ones who are coming in favor, it is a request to them that unless they are the ones who talk to Israel to stop doing whatever they are doing in Gaza, Israel won't stop, because they believe that as they have the support of the Western countries, especially US is the leading country that is giving support to Israel in terms of arms, in terms of each and every assistance that is available to them, and the kind of carnage which is taking place in Gaza right now, that can only be stopped through by these influential countries. When they sit with Netanyahu, when they sit with Israel, they are the only ones who can stop Israel from this genocide.
Right. Thank you, Faisal, for that, and thank you for being part of the debate. As always, unfortunately, this is something that still continues while we talk, and the people's suffering continues. And so, of course, whatever needs to happen needs to happen now. But of course, whatever we want to see is not there yet, and we hope that that changes. That's all that we have from the debate. We'll now see you tomorrow.